Alright, check this bike out. So I picked this bike up for $600. Really good deal. It's a 2006 Kx250F, but it's got some weird problems. So the seller had it up for $1,800, dropped it to $12, and I offered $6, and he said, you can have it for $600. So the seller said he picked this thing up about a month ago, rode it 3 times, and he went to go let it warm up one day, and he said all of a sudden it shut off, and he could not start it back up again. He said compression feels a little lower than it used to be, so he thinks it lost compression, and that's why it won't start. This does have a decompression mechanism on the cam, so maybe that's stuck on, causing lower compression. It kind of feels like a bent valve to me, but it kicks over really smooth, so maybe not. He said he checked timing on it, and timing was good, but he said that oil was squirting out of the breather hose right here in the engine. He said it was just squirting all over the place. So he doesn't know what's going on. He just wanted to get rid of it. All he knows is that first gear was out of it. He said when he was driving it sometimes slips past first. So he included a new used transmission for the bike. Right here, a new chain, new grips, and the stock plastics that came on it when he bought it. So that's basically all we know on this bike. Comes with the hole shot mechanism on the forks here, and I think this bike was once raced. It's got the XL rims, has the stock pipe on there, everything's stock. Got a couple new levers, has tag bars, nice seat cover on it. So it's a nice looking bike. If we can get this thing to run, I think we'll be in business. What do you think, Vin? But today we're going to be working on this, trying to get this thing to run and drive. I'm hoping it's a simple issue and it won't take much, but you never know. So let's get going, see what we find. What do you think, Vinny? He's trying to sniff it from there. What do you think? He's like, somebody was doing burnouts. Tires are like completely bald. Yeah, he's sniffing that out. Smells like burnt rubber. He's really sniffing it out. Well, Vin, what do you think? It's like I can smell leaking oil. Alright, little walk around of the bike here. So it seems like fork seals are leaking a little bit, not horrible. The tire's pretty bald. You can see there's leaking from the carb as well. Looks like gas is leaking from it. Oil leaking from the case, the bottom of the case here. Not sure why. Sprockets, not horrible in the back, it's getting down there though. Chain doesn't look too bad. Tire in the back is just completely gone. Looks like there's oil in it. Looks like it's overfilled a little bit. That's probably why I was pumping oil out of the crankcase. See if there's any gas in it. Yeah, there's gas in it. So what we're gonna do is kick this thing over a couple times and see if she fires up. So something feels pretty off. You can see how easy it was to kick over. So it doesn't feel like we're getting much compression. Let's see if there's an air filter in here. There's the seat cover. I guess all the plastics are brand new. The ones that came with it had some zip ties and stuff on it. I think that's why they got new plastics for it. But it does have an air filter in here. All oiled up and everything. So that looks really good. So far off to a good start. Let's see if it's getting gas. Alright, so gas is on right now. Let's turn it off. And we'll see what's going on. Oh, there's gas coming out of it. Turn this on. Looks like clear gas to me. Good stream. So it is getting gas. I get this cap off to check and see what the color of the oil is. There is a little window down here, but I can't see anything, so it looks like the oil is overfilled there. There we go. Let's see what the color of the oil is. Pretty clear. Doesn't look like we're getting coolant in the oil, at least from that check. So basically we can rule out head gasket failure or water pump issues. See if there's coolant in here. Yep, that's topped off in there. Yep, definitely coolant in there. Alright, so everything checks out so far. Alright, so looking at the valve cover here, I'm not seeing any major leaks or anything around there. I'm not seeing any major leaks around the head gasket area either, where coolant could be coming from. So it looks all really tight up in here. Let's get this out of here. Looks like this was taped up at one point. Plug was really loose. That's weird. Let's take a look at the plug here. See if that's wet. So plug isn't super wet or anything. You can see it's not dripping wet. So I wonder if it's just not getting fuel to it. See, it's pretty dry at the tip there. It's pretty dry at the tip there. Looks like it was running pretty good. See how nice and brown that is? Huh. Alright, let's just see if we have spark. Ooh. Let's see here. We have spark. Alright. We have good spark. I'll take a flashlight and look down the cylinder. Damage to the piston here. Nope. There's not a hole in the piston or anything. At least from that point of view. Alright. Do a compression test in this thing. Alright, so for the 2006 Kx250F, this does have a decompression mechanism on the cam. So compression reading is going to be, the manual states 62.5 to 100 psi, somewhere in that range, depending on how fast you kick, how hard you kick, and all that. So if we're above 60, we should be fine. I know the Suzuki we worked on was like 55, and that still started fine. So I think anywhere above 50 to 100 is where you're going to find the compression on one of these with the decompression mechanism. So let's get that down there. The spark plug hole feels weird. Almost like it's stripped out or something. There we go. Now what's going on? There. All right, we're looking for right in this area. All right, we're gonna do throttle open. Kick this thing over a bunch of times. Let's see what happens here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Zero compression. That's not good. I wonder if we have a bent valve. Literally zero compression on that when we kicked it over. All right, that's not good. Oh boy. Yeah, nothing. Nada. So that's definitely a problem. I thought it felt a little low. I didn't think it'd be zero compression. So I don't know how it would have bent the valve in the time that the guy was letting it warm up and then came back and he said it didn't start. So somehow maybe it skipped timing in that short period of time, or the valves got really, really tight. All right. Should pop right off of there. Didn't think you'd have to take off the mount there. Let them flip up like that. Come off of here. What the heck? That should come out. There we go. Looks like there's a little oil up there. Looks like the decompression mechanism is working. So I'm not seeing any signs of shavings or anything like that. No rubbing. All the cam lobes look smooth. Cam chain is nice and tight. Here's the decompression mechanism. See it springing back. Spring isn't broken on it. Maybe the timing's off, so let's check that next. The seller said he checked the timing, but we'll just make sure it was set correctly. Yeah, these were loose, so I'm sure he checked it. Alright, let's get this thing rotated over. Looking for either a T or a line. There's a line right there. Maybe we're 180 out here. Maybe the woodruff key broke and the flywheel and caused timing to be off. Definitely a possibility. Hopefully you guys can see in there. Let's see if I can get a light in there for you. It's gonna be two. See the two lines? Kind of hard to tell right there. So we're gonna go to the second line, the furthest to the right. So that one right there. So quick line this one up with the second line. Now we're lined up with the second line here, with the notches in the case. And it looks like timing is spot on. So this dot needs to be parallel with the surface of the head here. This one needs to be straight up and down. And that dot is parallel with the surface of the head. That one's straight up and down. And let's see our lobes here. Lobes are pointing in opposite directions. You can see that one's pointing that way, that one's pointing that way, so timing is spot on. All right, I thought for sure timing would be off, but looks like timing's spot on. So let's check the valve clearances next. Make sure those are within spec. Could have a couple really tight intake valves. So valve clearances for the 2006 Kx250F. Intake are going to be 4 thousandths to 6 thousandths, so right here. And then the exhaust is going to be 7 thousandths to 9 thousandths. So let's start out at 5 thousandths and just see if that fits in the intake here. We're hoping it does not. So we actually have a problem to fix. Alright, 5 thousandths. Where are you? Let's see what happens. Slides right in. Ooh, that one's tight. So this intake valve is perfect. That one slides right in. See, it just rubs. This one is tight. Alright, let's check the exhaust valves. Quick here. You go to 7 thousandths in the exhaust valves. Tight. That one slides in. So let's go to 5 thousandths on the exhaust valve. That exhaust valve is still tight. We'll go to 3 thousandths. Yeah, that exhaust valve is really tight. So that might be our problem. 2 thousandths, let's see if that slides in. Nope, that's tight. Let's see if the 2 thousandths fits the intake valve. Yep. Okay, so the intake valves are not that tight. Just a little tight. That still slides in there. But it is not in the exhaust valve here. That exhaust valve right here is really tight. So I just tested the exhaust valve right here, the clearance here, and that's 21 thousandths, so that's huge. That's way too big. So we have to shim that one as well. So this one is a little bit small at 2 thousandths, so we have to shim that one a little bit. This one's at 0, and that one's at 21 thousandths. Want to do a crisscross pattern on these. Don't drop that in the engine. Alright, the tensioner sits right here. In order to get that off, you need to take the carburetor out. Actually, we might just be able to push it this way a little bit. Maybe not. That was Seems really loose in there. Seems like somebody had this off before. Tensioner looks good. Now we can get these cams out. So, exhaust cam can come out. Bearing feels good on there. Like I said before, decompression mechanism's working. Lobes look good. Chain's already off. Let's see here. Bearing is smooth. Lobes are good. Sprocket looks good. Nothing wrong with the intake cam. These buckets are coming out. So we're gonna leave this one in. That one's fine. We'll take this one out. Alright, and you can see the shim in there. Go for, this one's really big, so we'll get this one out. Doesn't want to come out. Get this one out. That one, the shim. Alright, that one came out. Alright, we have our shim kit here. This is the smaller shim kit here with the correct size shims. So these are pretty small diameter shims. We're going to start with the 2000s intake valve. So this one was measured to be 3 thousandths too small. So what we're going to do is measure the shim size here. That's 2.14 millimeters, so let's write that down. 2.14 millimeters. All right, so we did the math. So our shim size we measured to be 2.15 millimeters. We wrote that down. We want our gap to be 5 thousandths of an inch, okay? So what we're gonna do is take 5 thousandths minus 2 thousandths, which was our starting size over here. That's how big the gap was. And that's gonna give us 3 thousandths. So that's how much we have to make up with the shim, or 0.076 millimeters. So this is the same as that. Now we're gonna take our shim size, 2.14 millimeters, and subtract the difference here, this number right here. And that's going to give us 2.064 millimeters, and that's the new shim size we need. So we want it smaller so that the gap is bigger, if that makes sense. So now we take our shims here, and we're looking for 2.064, and they're all labeled. This one's 2.05, so this one should get us pretty close. Let's take a look. A little bit big. Yeah, that's pretty close. Because we need 2.06, and that's the next size up, so we're going to install that one. Alright, so we're working on the shim with the zero clearance. So this was the tight one. This was the tight exhaust valve. This shim size measured 2.7 millimeters in thickness. So we wrote that down right there. We want the gap to be 8 thousandths. So we're going to do 8 thousandths minus 0 because we started at a 0 gap. And that gives us a clearance of 8 thousandths, or 0.203 millimeters. So this is the difference we want to make up on the shim. So we're going to take the shim size we started with, subtract the difference right here, and that's going to give us a new shim size of 2.497 millimeters. And you want it smaller because the gap was too tight. So making the shim smaller will make the gap bigger. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're looking for a 2.5 around. And we started with a 2.7. So 2.5. Here's a 2.5. Let's see if it measures correctly here. 2.44. That's pretty close. And more than likely we're less than 0. We just assume it's 0 because it was tight, but a lot of times it's actually below 0. So we might have to shim this one again after testing it out. All right, so for the last shim, which was over here, exhaust, it was 21 thousandths. So we measured the shim size to be 2.71 millimeters. We want it to be, the gap to be 0.008 or 8 thousandths. So what we're gonna do is do 21 thousandths minus 8 thousandths gives us a difference of 13 thousandths or 0.330 millimeters converted. Then we're going to do the shim size plus, this time because the gap was too big, now we want to add metal to that shim. So we're going to do adding the 0.330 or the difference, and you're going to get a new shim size of 3.04 millimeters. So on our thing here, let's find a 3.01. That's pretty close. All right, valves are all set perfectly. It took me a couple times to do the exhaust valves, but we finally got them perfect. So everything is good to go. I rotated the engine over a couple times just to make sure everything was perfect. Measured them again, and we are good to go. So let's get a compression test done on this thing. See what we get. Throttle open. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Aha. 60 psi. Perfect. This thing might fire up now. We might just luck out. It might just be the valves. All right, now we confirmed we have spark and compression. Now we just need fuel. So let's get this carburetor out of here. And hopefully we can get this to work properly. Let's just see if the accelerator pump's working. Oh yeah, it's squirting. Look at that. You guys see the gas squirting? So accelerator pump looks good. So that's working pretty decent. Carburetor's stuck on there. All right, we got the throttle cables off on the other side here. So this whole thing can come out. All right, now we just have the hot start. All right, there we go. Now it's free. You can see it squirting there. See that? So accelerator pump's working great. Let's see if that pilot's clogged. I have a feeling it might be. But at least our accelerator pump's working. But I'm sure it was almost impossible to start with the valves being that tight. Alright, let's see how many turns on the fuel screw here. Mark that with a marker. So we're about one turn out. Why that's so hard to turn. extremely hard to turn. Looks good. Spring is still in there. Yeah, it looks pretty clean. Just want to make sure passageways are not clogged. Yep, that one looks good. That's good. Alright, that looks perfect. It's pretty much spotless. The seller did say he cleaned it and put new jets in, so. Let's see what we're running for a main jet here. Looks like we're running a 180 for the main. That's pretty big. I don't think that's stock. Pilot looks like a 40. Let's see if that's clear. It's a little clogged, but there's the pilot. Blow through that. And there's a starter jet in here too. Get that out. It's really in there. Let's see what size that one is. It looks like it's a 68, I think it says. It's hard to read it. Pretty sure it says 68, but that one's clear. Needle's nice and tight. So everything was pretty much clear. Yeah, I think we took that out for nothing pretty much, but just wanted to make sure everything was clear before we tried to start this thing up. So now we know at least it's not the carburetor if we have problems. That's why it was hard to get that out. This little washer is stuck in here. Alright, so I got the little washer out of the fuel screw, and I found that there was actually 2 springs in there. And that's why it wasn't going down very far. Because if you put 2 springs on here, you can see it doesn't fit. So that only needs 1 spring. So the pilot was really, really rich, and that's probably why it wouldn't idle very well. Alright, we just looked up the stock jetting. Stock jetting is 40 for the pilot and 180 for the main. So we do have the stock jets in there. This is how the fuel screw should look. So there's a spring, a little washer, and then an O-ring over the washer like that. And then that goes in and we turn it out 2.5 turns. We got the carburetor back installed there. Everything's good to go there. Before we attempt to start this thing up, the seller did say that oil was squirting out of the breather. So I'm thinking the oil is overfilled. So let's drain this out. There's a bolt right there. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it was overfilled a little bit though. Alright, we got that drain plug drained out. Now there's a little 8mm one right here we have to drain out. So let's get that cracked. And there's a little oil in there too. So let that drain, plug them both up, and then we're going to be putting 1.4 quarts in through here. All right, this was way overfilled with oil. That's way too much oil in there. So that's why it was pouring out of the overflow. Doesn't look too bad though, no metal chunks or anything. Using 10W40 wet clutch oil here. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Will this $600 bike fire up? All right, she fired up. All right, we're trying to get this thing to idle. Just messing with the fuel screw a little bit. I turned it out a little bit more and seems to be idling a lot better. But the guy said that this thing was recently rebuilt. That's what he said, at least. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I want to see if this thing shifts. So he said first gear was a little iffy. So we will see. But I think it's not idling because there's a really bad exhaust leak right here on the pipe. It needs like a certain fitting there that's missing. So you can see just a huge exhaust leak there. All right, let's get this grip off of here. With a part. Alright, that comes off. Alright, this one goes on. Alright, I was trying to fit this up, but the bolt holes are different. You can see one's way longer than the other one, so unfortunately that case saver's not going to work. Alright, first gear is absolutely horrible. It's just grinding away, so I didn't want to ride it too long. Plus, this thing was super hard to start warm. Even with the hot start, it took like 20 kicks to start. So something's going on. You know, it shouldn't take 20 kicks to start when it's warmed up. Yeah, it might be running a little bit rich. I'm not sure. But I think we're going to have to tear this engine down and fix that first gear before we can ride it anymore. Because it's just grinding away and it sounds horrible. And it's kind of hard to ride a bike in second gear the whole time. So, yeah, unfortunately, engine needs a complete teardown. I thought for sure we'd get lucky on this one, but yeah, first gear is for sure out. So, once we tear this thing down, it'll be good to see if the piston needs new rings and stuff like that too. I'm guessing the valves need to be lapped in, and yeah, there seems to be a couple issues with it. So at least we got it running today though, and it wasn't blowing up or anything like that. Still a pretty good deal for $600 for all new plastics, new seat cover. I mean, the bike looks pretty sharp, so for 600 bucks, I think we did pretty good. So next video, we'll tear this thing down and see what's going on with it. Curious to see why that first gear went out. Should be interesting. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.